Assalamualaikum and very good morning to my beautiful lecturer. So for today, our group will be present about the topic of Masalih Al-Mursalah. My name is Nur Aisyah binti Muhammad Nasir.
I am Nur Amalina binti Cik Abdul Rahim.
My name is Fatin Wahidah binti Syauqi Audah.
Al-Masalih is the plural of the word of Al-Maslaha. The opposite word of Al-Maslaha is Mafsadah, which means damage. Al-Maslaha can be described as a condition that can bring benefits or even lead to reject harm. In terms of terminology, scholars can define Al-Maslaha as something of interest that does not have clear evidence of nas that can either certify or reject it. And the last one, Maslahah is a very important thing to set a Sharia because it is the purpose of the setting of the Sharia. For example, Khalifah Uthman ibn Affan issued a fatwa on imposing zakat on horses, but this was never done during the time of the Prophet Muhammad SAW. During the time of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, horses were very important animals because they were used in the field of war and the number of horses at that time was small. In fact, when we compare with the number of horses nowadays, is very different because the number is large and is used in the field of business. Therefore, Khalifah Uthman ibn Affan thought to issue a fatwa about charging zakat on horses based on the Al-Masalih Al-Mursalah method. This is not sources by any specific evidence because it has never been mentioned in any nas.
Now we are going to talk about the type of maslahah. The first type of maslahah is al-daruriyat or the essentials. The whole existence of this maslahah is very needed by human good in religion and world affairs. There is no maslahah, this will damage worldly life and have bad consequence for the affair or the hereafter. This maslahah consists of taking care of religion, soul, intellect, lineage, honor and wealth. All things that can damage this maslahah of daruriyat are forbidden by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, in order to protect their religion, Islam has mandated jihad and imposed punishment to those who murtad. Therefore, the concept of religion and the Muslim community is protected from corruption. Second maslahah is al-hajiyat or the complementary. Al-hajiyat is the important that people need to provide them with ease and remove the narrowness that leads to difficulties without this maslahah. Maslahah without this does not impair human life is the same way that the exclusion of daruriyat does, but it will lead to difficulties in their life. For example, some facilities rukhsah are prescribed such as qasar and jamak prayer for people who are travelling. It is required not to fast in Ramadan for people who are sick or travelling, performing prayer while sitting for people who are unable to stand. Last type of maslahah is at-tasaniyat or establishments. At-tasaniyat is an important that requires a person to adhere to good morals and noble character. Exclusion of tasaniyat does not lead to the difficulty of human life as absent of the ad-daruriyat or al-hajiyat, but it leads to a life that is not good in the eyes of other people. For example, Islam prescribes cleans up and covering the private parts in prayer, wearing perfume while in the mosque and in public gathering in matter of muamalat. Islam forbids any business of buying and selling that cause harm such as drug, excrement, and so on. In Islam, custom they also teach the manners of eating and drinking, forbidding eating disgusting and harmful food, just as Islam forbids going beyond limit in eating, drinking, and dressing.
So next I'm going to explain about the conditions of Masalah Al-Mursalih. So the condition of Maslahah Al-Mursalah are obligatory based on the new law appeared. Like day by day, there are many existing law because of the unusual event happen. So Maslahah Al-Mursalah is one of the method are used to solve the unusual problem. The objective is to celebrate the emergence of a new law in the principle of bringing and warding off all harm. Imam Ghazali has set 3 conditions for something to be considered as maslahah daruriyat. Maslahah must be general and include benefits for Muslims since the main objective is to give benefits for Muslim, but still in line with the law that has been established. So, among the example of Masalah Al-Mursalah is that the enemies of Islam make the captive of Muslim their fortress. It is a law to kill them even though it was originally forbidden to kill Muslim. It can be clearly seen that the lives of Muslim as a whole are more protected than the lives of Muslim, the lives of a small part of Muslim. It means that we should kill apostate people because they bring bad influence to Muslim. But in Malaysia, if someone apostated, he will be in prison and will be given a counseling session to help improve his faith. All legal stipulations established based on benefits must be rational and applicable in order to remove all the difficulties for Muslim. Maslahah really bring benefit to Muslim and reject harms.
There's also other condition according to the opinion of Maliki and Hanbali scholars. The condition of Maslahah or Mustalah that the Maslahah must be in line with the code of Sharia, so there is not conflict with any principle of Sharia or any agreement, and the Maslahah can be understood and occur for a reasonable reason that is accepted by reason, and is believed to have a Maslahah from the law. It brings benefit or reject harm. For example, taking away the right to divorce from husband and placing it in the hands of the Qadi is not necessary because it is against the text and does not provide reliable benefits. This means that the right divorce, the wife transfer from the husband to the Qadi does not lead to a good solution. Lastly, the Masalih Al-Mursalah, which is legislated, also must involve in the interest of the public and not specific individuals, because the Sharia law are made to be imposed on every human being. For this reason, it is not permissible to prescribe any such law for the benefit of the king, leader or his cronies and his family.
The scholars of Usul Fiqh believe that this method of Maslahah Mursalih is not valid to be prioritized in establishing the law in the field of worship, because this method was not practiced by the Prophet Muhammad SAW, and they consider this method undeveloped. They also have differences of opinion in terms of muamalat field. And then the second point is there are some who disagree and do not acknowledge the Maslahah Mursalih as the basis of the ruling, which is among the Zahiriyah, some of the Shafi'iyah, Hanafiyah, because they have their own reasons. Point number 3, among the reasons is that the scholars of Usul Fiqh believe that in Islam, Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam have established every law for every problem to ensure the welfare of his people is guaranteed. In addition, scholars also assert that allowing this method of maslahah for the setting of each ruling is to open the space to various parties, such as the judges in court, ignorant people, and authorities such as leaders. They can set a ruling by following their desires and can do whatever they want to give them priority. This clearly shows that they underestimate every ruling that has been set by the Islamic religion and are deviated from the true meaning of the truth. The last point is scholars also state that Islam is beautiful and perfect. They assume that Allah has arranged everything by not abandoning a matter that is a mess to the human being without explaining his sectioning in detail. So they say that if there are some who practice and agree with this method, it shows that the Islamic Sharia is not perfect because it leaves a matter of grievance without explaining the ruling.
Every product and service that exists will definitely benefit and have value for the community's use in continuing their daily life. Nevertheless, Islam is very concerned with the resource and method used in producing a product so that it will not have a negative effect on all parties who use is forbidden by law. There are few examples of application in Islamic banking and finance using the Maslahah Al-Mursalah. The first example is Murabahah for purchase order. MPO is a markup sale and it is an alternative of interest product. Firstly, the customer will identify the asset to be accurate, and secondly, the Islamic bank purchase the identified item from the owner on cash basics, like 45,000, and then the Islamic bank sells the item to the customer in the deferred payment, like 600 times 108 months. The second example is the use of guarantees or collateral. It can be our relative or asset we have. This guarantee can be used as a complement to the financing product provided by Syariah banks. This is intended so that financing customers do not commit a legal action. If the buyer default on the terms of payment as agreed in the contract, the bank can claim it with the guarantor. If the buyer default on the terms of payment and agreed in the contract, the bank can claim it with the guarantor. There are a few people who use guarantors only for their own benefits. In order to protect the right of the guarantor so as not to be cheated, the conditions for becoming a guarantor have been set according to Sharia compliance, so it will not harm all parties.
As for the conclusions, Masalih Al-Mursalah is very important for our life nowadays.